and welcome to 9 to 42, the podcast from the team at the Guitar Show UK. Join us for interviews, updates and chat with artists, influencers and those that manufacture the gear that we love. Hello and welcome to 9 to 42, which is the podcast from the guys at the Guitar Show UK. And at what is a ridiculous time in the morning, because it's only 10:05 local time, and there's a reason why I say local time. I'm looking at Jace on screen. How are you, Jace?
I'm very good, mate. Very good. Bit of a sore throat this morning. I had a rehearsal last night, and I think I kind of got overexcited and screamed down the microphone a little bit too much.
Okay. Was it not one of these ones where you just go in a room on your own? Were there actually other people with you?
No, I was just on my own.
So you went into a room on your own, played your guitar, screamed a bit, and came out again?
Well, yeah, for a bit, yeah, for 2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Doing these solo gigs, you've got to learn. There's no good sitting on the sofa and playing an acoustic guitar and singing. You've got to learn to throw it over a PA properly. Right. So that's what I was doing.
Right, okay. Listen, if that's what you're using to justify that self-indulgence to yourself, that's fine with me. You just go ahead. That's fine. And the reason I mentioned local time a moment ago is because our guest is dialing in from overseas, so he's a bit further ahead. In fact, he's getting about ready for a sandwich or something. We have Jussi Ylikoski. How was that? Was that
pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah. Who's a guitarist, songwriter, and producer, we'll throw it in, who's very kindly found some time to talk to us. How are you, Jussi?
Yeah, doing great, thanks.
Yeah, cool. And where exactly are you?
I'm in Helsinki.
Okay, and it is 2 hours time difference, isn't it? It is midday with you there, isn't it?
Yeah, just past noon at the moment. Yeah.
Right, okay. And I'm sorry, because this is going to turn into a weather podcast, but are you one of those places where you struggle for daylight now? Or are you all right? Are you still getting reasonable amounts of daylight?
Yeah, there's some daylight coming in, but yeah, sure. Here in Finland, it doesn't matter where you live here. It's pretty dark, from like, let's say 4 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Wow.
Or something.
Wow,
and it gets a lot worse when you go further up north.
Right, okay. But then in the summer, you're in permanent daylight, I guess, virtually.
Yeah. The midsummer is like, at least in northern Finland, the sun doesn't actually go down. But here in Helsinki, it gets, somewhat dark, but definitely not completely.
Right, okay. Well, that was a little bit of a diversion for our guitarist audience to find out a little bit about the weather in Helsinki, but I thought we should do it. So we're going to have a little bit of a talk through your career and your life and the things you get up to, if that's okay. But before we start, how's lockdown been in Finland?
Yeah, it's been quite a bumpy ride. Things are looking quite a lot better, but actually right now there's like a new wave with the young people, like the kids, and there's like, for example, my daughter who is 11, there are quite a lot of COVID stuff going on in her school and in the hobbies as well. So it gets a bit tricky. But all the older audience or older people here in Finland are a lot better since they are all vaccinated, or almost all.
Well, I've just had my booster vaccination, so I had my 2 vaccinations early in the year, and then I've just had my booster. Are they doing a booster campaign as well in Finland? Are you doing that as?
You mean like a third one?
Like a third one, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the talks, but I suppose it's not like decided if it's going to be the whole population. Remains to be seen.
Okay. Well, getting on to you, where does your journey start? Where does the interest in guitar come from?
I think it dates back to like early 90s. So I just did some calculations just before we started to talk, and so it's actually 31 years since I got my first guitar. So it's been quite a few years.
And that must be, you can't have been very old then, because I'm looking at you and you don't look very old at all. So I don't know how old you are, whether you've just got one of those faces. But how old were you when you picked up that guitar?
I was 12.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
so that's okay. Oh, you look good on 43 then.
Yeah, I get that a lot. So yeah, well,
yeah.
I suppose it's a good thing.
Yeah. Are you colouring your hair, or is there a bit of grey hidden somewhere, or are you just grey?
There's definitely some grey going on the sides.
On the side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you started when you were 12, which I guess is similar to a lot of us. I think I picked up my first guitar when I was 14. How long before you were absolutely hooked?
It was pretty fast, I guess on 7th grade, then I actually had my second guitar, and that's when, and I also got my first, like these tabulature notes of some of my favorite bands, and that was sort of the turning point, and I guess the whole, the whole high school time, the 3 years, I pretty much did nothing else, or actually junior high from 7th to 9th grade. I pretty much did nothing else except played guitar and tried to learn all these late 80s, early 80s Metallica stuff, and of course Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. I think that was the first like tabulature book I got, and stuff like that.
That's, do you know what, because when I started playing, guitar tab was only just starting to be looked at. So the first, I was a bit earlier than you. I was sort of Dire Straits and some of the slightly earlier 80s stuff. But you're right. By the time we get to Appetite for Destruction, I was listening to things like, Def Leppard and Bon Jovi as well. And you were just starting to get the tab books coming out. And that made a huge difference for a guitarist that wasn't somebody who could read music, because I certainly couldn't read music. And it's interesting you mentioned that as being such a factor so early on. So you were very much in that kind of rock metal thing then when you first started playing.
Yeah, that was pretty much the scene where I grew up, and also from my older sister I picked up some bands and yeah, I suppose Metallica was a big influence as a kid, and I was quite into the guitar magazines of the the early 90s, Guitar World especially, and read those quite a lot, and also picked up some like Diamond Darrell from Pantera was a pretty big thing for me, and Nuno Bettencourt from Extreme. His guitar playing was also kind of pretty influential for me for that in that time.
Yeah, he made a huge impact at that period, playing with just
definitely
slightly funky vibe as well as I mean, obviously a great player, but played with a slightly different approach, which made a huge difference. So when did that start to work its way into actually bands and songwriting then? When did you start to get the bug for that? Yeah,
we had our first band around mid-90s. Actually, the drummer from Moonshot, Mikko, he's the guy who I also started my first band back in the day. And I remember I loaned, like it was like a 4-track tape recorder. And it's like really old Yamaha drum machine. I got those from my uncle, and I remember I made my first own song, and that was like a complete ripoff of some old Pantera riff. But anyway, that was my first one. So I suppose mid 90s, something like that.
I certainly I've got a similar memory, but the first time you did something on a 4-track and you realised you could do things like pan things left and right, and you could actually do mix downs, or you could fade things in and out, and you did your first mix, and it was like it's a magical moment that you never forget, as terrible as they all will have sounded. That moment is I'll never forget trying to do a bit of a Stones rip-off and panning a rhythm guitar on one side and a lead guitar on the other side, kind of honky-tonk woman style, and playing it back and thinking, wow, I'm a songwriter.
Yeah. Well, I've still got my 4-track and all of the cassettes in a bag. Maybe you should have a listen to them and see how good or bad I did with them.
Jace, I think that's an episode in that. I think there's an episode. We need a listen back episode.
I hate to think what they sound like, but I don't know why I've never thrown it out, really. I just think that maybe if I ever run out of songwriting ideas, I can go back and rip off myself from 30 years ago.
Yeah. Well, it's that. I mean, there's the guitar thing, but actually, and it's interesting you mentioned that so early on in your journey, Jussi, because I think that's a big thing the first time you try and record, and you start thinking about songs in terms of arrangement and what goes where and when do things come in and how do you build a track up. And I think that's part of the songwriting craft.
So is that when you become Disco before Disco Ensemble?
Yeah, disco. Yeah, we did our first demo it was in 97. Yeah, and this was like it was mostly same members as in Disco Ensemble, but actually the first demo and we put out in 97 and some more promo stuff in 98, and then in 99 we had a change of lead singer. This guy Miikka, who was the lead singer of Disco Ensemble, he actually came in to play guitar at first, and then our singer at that time decided to move on and do other stuff. So Miikka, took the mic, so to say.
Yeah.
And then also we changed the name, and
So you do Disco Ensemble for what, about 10 years? Is it something like that?
No, it was actually longer. It was so the first EP came in 99, and we played our very last show in December 2018. So
it's like 20 years. Yeah, it's my maths that are wrong. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you did that for 20 years, because I was reading about Moonshot. I think it's really interesting because you're basically made up of 3 previous sort of bands, aren't you? So you've got, is it Lapco, Children of Bodom, and Disco Ensemble?
Yeah.
But
that's right.
It looks like none of you actually left those bands to form Moonshot. All of those bands had kind of reached the end of their sort of natural life anyway. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, all of those bands kind of decided to call it quits on their own, and from those ashes, so to say, came up Moonshot.
So you and the drummer, were you sort of like, we're going to go again? Was it like a decision and then you found other members, or was it a much more sort of natural and organic thing with the forming of Moonshot?
Yeah, it actually, the original idea to form Moonshot came from me, and I asked Mikko, the drummer, to join. Sort of, it was just an idea. This was back in 2017, and he was in with the idea, but it took quite a while before we actually took any members in this new band. It was in 2018 when Ville, the singer from Lapko, joined, and then Henkka from Children of Bodom joined in summer 2019, and and we actually decided on the band name after Henkka had joined. So I suppose the actual band was formed in 2019.
So I looked up moonshot as a phrase, and there's various sort of like different sort of explanations of what moonshot. But I think the one was it's like a giant leap. Was that why you chose the name?
That's one. Yeah. Well, actually, it was. I actually had quite a long list of just sort of random, let's say, band name candidates and just good sounding titles, and we just scrolled it through, and we all kind of took the moonshot. Not like so the idea came from like, I can't actually remember where I picked it up, but it sort of looked really good as a name and as a logo and as a title, and the meaning behind it, it's certainly a like nice plus, so to say.
Is that something that you do as a songwriter? You're just constantly picking up phrases and words and keeping a note of them because you could use them for lyrics or album titles or band names. Is your phone full of all of this sort of random words? Yeah,
actually my phone is full of like short clips of sounds and and pieces of music. Since the Ville is the one who is in charge of, like, he mainly does the lyrics, the actual texts, and then we together build the top lines and so on. But I guess my phone is full of stuff like short clips from wherever, like nature documentaries. There's like quite a lot of hidden gems to be found in these short, let's say 10-second, 20-second pieces of music. And that's how I get inspired quite a lot.
So you came together in 2019. You've actually your kind of moonshot at that point, and then we hit the pandemic in early 2020. I mean, did that kind of put the brakes on? Did you have to stop? I mean, I don't know what it was like in Finland. I mean, certainly here we were in the early part of 2020 in a hard lockdown where we just didn't see anyone. I mean, are you writing via the internet, or are you able to get together in Finland?
Yeah, I guess there's like lots of different situations involved in that long time, but we were actually planning to put out the album in 2020 already, and we had quite a few nice festival shows booked in 2020, and the master of the album was ready in it could have been even earlier, but it was ready in June 2020, so we had to postpone it quite a few times, and mainly because of the situations on the live side. Since as a rock band, as a touring rock band, it kind of makes no sense to put out the album and then you would lose the momentum of not being able to play live and stuff like that. So it had quite a big impact, but I suppose the upside is that we almost decided to put it out, in 2020.
Yeah.
So it was a good decision to wait and sit on it for a while.
So it was all recorded before the pandemic hit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost all, yeah.
So I was interesting because I went back to the very start of Moonshot's social media posts, and so when you look at the first sort of posts, you've all got like red dots over your faces, and there's a video as well on your website which doesn't show anybody's face. Was this like a conscious plan at the start to sort of like let the music do the talking rather than the names of the associated bands?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and we also we decided on the date that when we would like publish the news of this new band and the guys behind it, and we, on the other hand, we wanted to already build some buzz in the socials, and And so this was the idea we came up with, to sort of like have short snippets of our music and like a band pictures, but just the faces or the eyes, so some of the people actually might recognize, but still it's not like official.
Yeah.
So that was the plan.
It seems that the social media following just started pretty much straight away. You're not very many posts in before you've got 2,000 likes, 4,000 likes, 5,000, followers on it. Was the news getting out? I'm assuming, particularly in Finland, that who you were and what the band was before you'd kind of announced who you were.
Yeah, the news spread like a lot faster and broader than we would have expected, and yeah, definitely on the the first few months, the social following climbed quite fast, but then it as expected, it kind of settled down, but still the first big bang, so to say, with the news, it spread really nicely, especially of course in Finland, but on the other countries surprisingly well.
Yeah, I thought one of the interesting things, because I've been listening to I listened to Disco Ensemble first this morning, a little bit of Children of Bodom, but they're a bit too metal for me, and then I was listening to the Moonshot album this morning, and everything seems to be in English. Is that a conscious decision to kind of reach a bigger audience?
Yeah, that was kind of the first big decisions, to keep everything in English. Yeah. So to have it's like a message to people that of course Finland is important for us, but it's still, on the other hand, it's still just one country for this, inside this bigger picture that we have.
Yeah, a lot of Finnish bands, certainly the ones I'm aware of, tend to come to the UK. I think the oldest example I can think of is Hanoi Rocks, who I absolutely adored when I was a teenager. Is that something? Are you going to just base yourselves in Helsinki? There's no moving, because you said you've got a daughter, so I assume there's families for all of you and so on. Is it just going to be Helsinki's the base, and then you're just going to go out and do tours?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the idea. Yeah, we the three of us have families, so it there hasn't been any like serious talks about moving to anywhere. So we were just gonna do, I suppose, all the tours that make sense, and just then come back to rest here in Helsinki.
Yeah. So is because your tour starts, is it January? Is that kind of all okay at the moment in Finland? Because it's Finland and then into Scandinavia and the rest of Europe, then, isn't it, the tour?
Yeah. It starts in Finland in January, and then through February we have some shows in Finland, and then we're gonna head to Northern Europe and then to Middle Europe, and actually there's some quite a few new shows booked at the moment. So the list in the web is a bit, we're actually not really sure when this podcast is going to be out, but we are releasing new shows with Danko Jones in May and June, and also quite a few own headline shows through Europe, and actually one in London as well. So it looks as if we're coming to London in early March.
All right, because I looked on the gig listings on your website, and it told me the closest one to me currently is Cologne. I thought that's quite a long drive to get from the UK to Cologne to come for a gig.
Yeah,
but it's a lovely city.
It is. It's my favourite German city, I have to say. Not that I've seen them all, but I've seen quite a lot of them, and Cologne is by far the most beautiful, I think.
Jace, I'd in the interests of research and for the podcast, I'd happily come with you.
Oh, okay. We'll both go to Cologne then. February the 22nd, I think it is.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
yeah.
Welcome.
I don't know how I'm going to get it through my household structure, but if I can blame you, then I think we'll be fine. You see, I wanted to just come back to one thing that you mentioned, and this is just me asking an obvious English a question from an English person who doesn't speak another language and is constantly embarrassed by the fact that I can't speak another language. Being able to do what you're doing now is one thing, but writing lyrics as well in English, how is that?
Yeah, that is a very special form of art, so to say. But I need to say that I'm not personally responsible of the lyrics writing, but so Ville is the one who does that. But still, I know enough that it's quite a crazy world, so to say, since everything sort of needs to be thought in a way upside down, so to say, and like small pieces from here and there, and then you need to check if it makes sense to say that, and then you need to recheck if it's like even though it's like the grammar is correct, it might at the same time sound quite silly, and I guess here in Finland there's quite a lot of this stuff going on, that the grammar is okay, but the sort of the silliness behind it is like obvious for like for the natives. So it's a really tricky business,
It's the other side of it as well, is that obviously language, people are very particular about the language used, and language is more and more is being weaponized, on social media, that must, because as a band, you're standing behind those lyrics, aren't you? So as a band, that's your, that's kind of what you're saying to the world. And obviously that was the bit that, it's hard for a native speaker to make sure they, when you're doing things like a podcast, that you don't say something that you don't really mean. And that's in my own language.
And
for me,
your all of your social media is in English as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that? I'm assuming you've got like a PR company that's looking after your social media, or is that you guys doing it yourselves?
Yeah, we have some, or actually, at the moment we are kind of on our own, but through the whole release schedule, we had some help. Yeah.
Are you the three bands that you kind of made up of had all achieved a certain sort of like level within the industry? Are you quite excited to go back out there and kind of like build again? Is there like a collective kind of enthusiasm to kind of like, I'm assuming, because I don't know any of the venues on the gig listing, that, you're starting at a club level and the plan is to work your way back up to big shows?
Yeah, it's definitely different, since you're sort of been there once, so like sort of like you have lived the whole the lifespan of a band, like building a name and stuff like that, and seeing all the good and bad stuff, and also, in my past there have been quite a few times that I just wasn't sort of able to, appreciate and enjoy certain moments in our band's career, even though they were great moments, like lots of them. But I suppose it was in my nature to somehow always look into the next door and what's behind it, But with this new band, it's a bit easier to stop and appreciate everything. And let's say our first show, it's quite special, even though, back in like 20 or 30 years, when I played my first show with our previous band, I don't think it was that special. But now that you get to do it again, you kind of see the value in that, and then all the excitement and nervousness just before you hit the stage, and you kind of see the value in all of this, you know.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, some of that is definitely getting older, isn't it? You know that when you're 20 and doing gigs, it's just one more. Just get the bigger one, and now you can actually kind of like the four of you can actually sort of, I suppose, relax into it. You know, I mean, what are the ambitions for Moonshot? What's the plan moving forward?
Well, I think the ambition is sort of for me at least, it's gone into the just being able to like just stay inspired regarding the new songs and regarding the live shows and how to make them work as well as possible and also you know kind of not to look for the numbers and more to look for the process, to like enjoy the sort of the small successes I have in my own studio and when we make the new songs and we're in the studio and mixing and doing the post-production or all the practical small stuff. It kind of, I just hope to like keep on reinventing myself in those situations and to find inspiration in there. So, and I guess that has always been the case, but I have sort of stopped comparing it to the results that may or may not come from the outside world, since it's not in your hands anyway. I just want to feel like this is. I just want to keep this important to me, and so whatever that means, there I will go. Yeah. Sounds like a cliche, but I guess that's also part of getting older. So it's not. I'm not that interested in. Of course, if we sell a lot of records or we have like many million streams on Spotify, of course that's a great thing because it gets us to go places and do more stuff with interesting people. But that's like, the essence in those numbers doesn't really mean anything to me.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I was just looking at the list actually, Jace, and the night before Cologne is Berlin, which is my favourite German city. So maybe there's a little European mini break coming here.
Well, possibly so. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? I was due to go to Helsinki just before lockdown. We were planning to go to Helsinki in May 2020, and obviously have yet to get there. My wife doesn't know that I only want to go because of Hanoi Rocks. She thinks that we're going for a nice long weekend, and I literally just want to go because of Hanoi Rocks.
Yeah.
Why am I not surprised?
She doesn't listen to this, so it's fine.
Yeah, well, no. We had this conversation the other day. Neither our wives listen to this podcast.
No.
Or take any interest, to be honest. Really?
No.
So it's been a little while since, although the album's not been out that long, it's been a little while since the album was actually, essentially finished. Have you been doing more writing in the time?
Yeah. So I have been doing. It's been like something like 15 months already. Not like all the time, but I have quite a few new demos already, and also Ville, the process goes as like I make the first instrumental demo, like a rough version, and I send it to Ville, and then Ville writes some lyrics and top lines on it, and he sings some rough ideas on that demo on in his own studio, and he sends it back to me, and we kind of go back and forth a few times, and we have been doing that quite a lot. So I think we have something like 15 songs, already, and in pretty good states. And we actually made a preliminary booking on the studio for the like the first session for the second album in April. So since we have like April and in early May, there's like the time window when we're not touring. So yeah, the plans are in quite advanced already.
But you'll have just come back from playing live as well, so I guess the band will be really tight and really, it's a good time to go into the studio, I guess.
Yeah, there's like something a bit over a month from like before, like when we come home from the tour and when the studio is at the moment booked. So there's like something like 5 to 6 weeks to like get the new songs in order and when we're not planning to record the whole album on that session, maybe half. So so it's always good to do things or maybe not always, but we have found it quite good to build this stuff like gradually and in parts. So we at least we have the possibility to like revisit anything that might go wrong on the first session. So
you mentioned earlier about when does this podcast come out? Thinking about it, Jace, it's going to come out just before Christmas, isn't it?
It's going to be in about 6 or 7 weeks' time, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're around the Christmas point. So we've got to ask then, what's Christmas like in your house? Is it a special time? What I mean, you've got a youngish family, so that's gonna mean there's probably a lot of Christmas going on in your place.
Yeah, we have 2 kids and the Christmas is the tradition is, at least for us, is usually that the my parents and my wife's parents we get together and depending on we have kind of decided that every other year we go to the other parents come to our house, and the next year the my wife's and stuff like that and yeah, that the tradition is quite it's not like that strict. It's pretty loose, but in Finland it's big part of Christmas is the food and of course the presents we give in the evening and since we have kids, so it's quite a lot of hassle and noise around that.
And no sign of a Moonshot Christmas single then?
Well, probably not. But we'll see if we put out something on January, but not under Christmas. It's too crowded, in too many senses, in too many ways. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll look out for anything. If anything changes, let us know, and we'll update the show notes with anything that's happening. That's happening around Christmas. Well, Jussi, thank you very much for your time. It's been absolutely fantastic. Been lovely to talk to you. I'm really getting quite excited about a couple of days in Germany now in the new year.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, sounds great.
I think I might stick out with your audience, but hey, I can live with that. That's fine.
Yeah, a
little bit older.
Let me know if you guys are coming, so I will definitely hook you up with the guest list. So.
You're very kind. Well, I think I think we've got to do it, Jace.
I suspect it's the London gig, mate, rather than Cologne.
Oh, I think we should be jumping on the EasyJet website right now. Black Friday offer. Get ourselves over. But Jussi, thank you very much. Before we go, we must remember to thank our sponsors. So, Focusrite, those beautiful people at Focusrite, who are fabulous and continue to offer us support, and on the back of your meeting the other day, want to actually carry on supporting us, don't they?
Well, let's actually have the official meeting before we say anything.
You got 6 weeks before this goes out to sort that. I'll leave that in your capable hands. But no, thanks everybody at Focusrite, because you are wonderful and lovely, and you produce great products, and you put your name against me and Jace babbling on. Which is a joy. Jussi, have a good rest of your day. Hopefully look forward to seeing you at some point on the road. And Jace, I'll talk to you anon.
All right. Cheers, mate. Thanks, Jussi.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to 9 to 42, the podcast from the team at the Guitar Show UK.
If you've enjoyed the show, then please remember to hit the subscribe button and share with other like-minded souls. For more information about 9 to 42, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram at The Guitar Show UK. This has been an A Short Stories production.